Hey, onesies, Josh Williams here, and thanks for checking out this week's episode of the One Man Podcast. It's always free and available on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, and many more, as well as on the web at onemanpodcast.com. So please, whatever platform you're listening on, like and subscribe. While you're at it, give it a rating, leave a review. Why? Because it helps the podcast, and I'd really appreciate it. How about that? What about social media? Search One Man Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube to keep up with what's going on there. Get a little extra content for yourself. And finally, to get in touch, please send your emails to contact@onemanpodcast.com. You send it, I read it on the podcast. That's the deal. Thanks for listening, guys, and I hope you enjoy this week's episode.
What's up, everybody? This is DJ Demers.
I'm K. Trevor Wilson.
Hey, it's Krista Allen.
Hi, this is Rick Mercier.
What's up, guys? This is Paul Verzi, and you are listening to the One Man Podcast. Yeah!
My name is Josh Williams, and welcome to the One Man Podcast, episode number 165 for Wednesday, July 8th, 2020. How's it going, onesies? How are you guys doing? Happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day to my American listeners. Thank you so much for listening, U.S. onesies, and I hope you had a great Independence Day. Of course, safe with COVID. And then, of course, just, happy week of July 8th to all the rest of the onesies, guys, all over the world. I finished The Last of Us 2 run through with me Mather. I went to an optometrist appointment. I went to a hair appointment, I guess. Or I can just say I got a haircut, right? I'm a male. Or at least for the time being, I continue to identify as one. I can tell you guys about, it's like I had a hair appointment. Actually, I went to, get a haircut. What else? I hung out, went for one of the evenings at the Absolute Comedy Patio, went there. I did some shopping with the mother. I started a new gig, just a short one, but it's getting me back out in the world doing things. Played a new game, finished an old one. Guys, I tell you all sorts of different fun stuff. So, like I said, happy 4th of July to all my American friends. Did not see a whole heck of a lot of posts for any too much craziness or anything like that. So hope everyone just had fun listening to some of what my U.S. colleagues in comedy were doing down there. A lot of people were just doing the basic, stuff with family, but, just still firing off some fireworks and whatnot. As I mentioned, I in the last episode, I was playing The Last of Us through with my mother, so we played through in a couple of days the Last of Us Part 2. It's a much longer game, but again, the story was so gripping. Even my mom was like, "Hey, you want to come back again tomorrow? We'll do even more." Like she was enjoying it, and I'm not gonna spend like more than a minute talking about this, but just it was she really enjoyed it, and it gave us a lot of chat. Like we did a lot of talking about what we thought this metaphor meant and this symbolism of this and that and whatever. And the story overall, I don't think this ruins anything because I doubt a lot of you know that. Well, that's not fair to doubt it, but I'm just gonna say the story is not too unlike Wuthering Heights. So if you're familiar with that story, it gives you an idea of what the theme of this story is like. I don't even know how to spell that. Wuthering Heights. But yeah, so it gives you an idea, the story of Heathcliff and all that. So if you, if you want to know more about it, it'll be a long time before even the first game's story series is out on HBO. So, if you're interested in it, watch some YouTube videos, although the internet's hating on a lot of it, saying it's woke bullshit because there's LGBT characters in the game, but they have very little bearing on the story's got nothing to do with that. It's elements of the characters, but that's not what drives the story forward, So, anyways, played it. She loved it. We've been talking about it. Been watching some, thoughts videos and just sharing. It was, and I'm glad I got to share that story with somebody. Again, someone who's not a gamer. That was what was fun for me. My mom is not a gamer by any means. She plays Candy Crush on her fucking phone. I think that's the extent of it. So she really enjoyed the story. And it was interesting to listen to her, what she thought of just the whole idea of being a kind of a passenger through a playthrough of a game, but she really enjoyed it. So, I also, nothing too spectacular, but I actually had my first patio session, with some friends and stuff like that. I went to the Absolute Comedy Patio this last weekend, I think on Saturday. Hung out with my friend Karen, saw another friend of mine, Davey. It was cool. It was really cool to be able to just sort of to hang out, have a couple of drinks. It was quiet. It was the quietest night that we've had, but good time on the absolute patio, just shooting the shit, having some drinks. Things are starting to feel a little bit more normal rather than like outside. It's like, oh my God, everybody run. We did practice social distancing, but it was just kind of cool to be out. So that was kind of cool. What else? I'm trying to burn through the stuff that I find not particularly interesting. So why don't I tell you guys about my optometrist appointment, huh? My first optometrist appointment in a long time. What's funny about it? Is there anything funny? The whole thing was done. I had to wear like a mask. So I'm sticking my face and my forehead on these machines. I went to the optometrist at Costco because I'm like, I'm going to buy some glasses. I'm going to do them here at Costco where it's cheaper. So I'm sure all of you have been to the optometrist, right? What looks better? Number one, number two, number one, number two, 2 or 4, or sorry, 2 or 3, 2 or 3, 3 or 4. Can you go back one? Let me see that one again. 3 or 4. Can I see 3? Can I just see the other 3 or 4? Can you just leave it on 3 for 1 fucking second? Can I look through 3 before you flip it on me, you cocksucker? Anyways, I'm sure if you've ever been to the optometrist, you know what I'm talking about. So they did all these other tests too. They obviously, that was the last one that they did. Second last, doesn't fucking matter. It's really not that important to the story. But what's cool and interesting is like anything medical freaks me out. Like your eyes can get cancer, so I don't need a lot to be like worried. So I'm going there, and every test they do one where like you're staring at a dot, and I can't remember what that one was testing, but you're staring at a dot, and they sort of taking pictures of your eye. And then they do one where they like puff air in your eye. And I don't remember what the fuck that one. I was like, check your eye's pressure or something like that. Then you do the, read the bottom line for me and all that. And I remember, so here's the thing, like whenever they test all that stuff, and then, the optometrist is actually telling me that my prescription is, considering that like I haven't had it changed in almost a decade. He goes, your prescription is almost no different. It's a very slight adjustment from what it would have been 10 years ago. So he's like, so your eyes are, in terms of the degradation, they're doing it in a very, like, it's really good. You couldn't really ask for much better than this over 10 years for someone who's already got, eye issues and stigmatisms. Like, they're really not going that bad. I was like, oh, that's great. That's great. Like I was telling him too, I'm still too much of a pussy to get the laser eye surgery. First off, it's expensive. But second, the fact that they can't put you to sleep and they slice your eye with a blade. And my mom worked in a laser eye surgery clinic when I was younger. So they're telling me stories about like when they put the flap back and it doesn't quite go perfectly back. So like there's like a ripple will heal in it. They got to cut it again and try to flatten it out. It's like, if you've ever put up wallpaper, really? I don't know. If you're ever trying to put a sticker or a decal or something on, you get a fucking bubble in it. It's like, ugh. Just imagine that's your eye. You know what I mean? They got to cut it and try to push ugh. So until they can put me to sleep, so I just go, I'm going to wake up and I'll play the odds on that other thing. I don't want to sit there. And apparently other people are like, yeah, you can smell your eye burning. I'm like, oh, that's great. So for now it's glasses, and the degradation of the eye is going pretty well. So they did that test, and he was telling me everything that's going well, he says, you seem to be doing well. Now I had, an optometrist who, I would say back in my like early 20s, she found holes in my retina. So I actually have had laser eye surgery, just not the cosmetic kind. So I remember, she was like looking in my eyes, and she found, holes in my retina. And she's like, well, she goes, well, you got to get these fixed, because what happens is like fluid will go through those holes, and it'll build up and eventually just detach your retina from the back of your eye, and then you go blind. I'm like, okay, well, let's fucking fix that then. So I went to go see this eye specialist. I also had to Google what the difference between an optometrist and an ophthalmologist is. And I think one of them is like, they're both kind of doctors, but one of them is just kind of like looking at the, they kind of look and they, do prescriptions and prescribe corrective vision, whatever. And then like the ophthalmologist does like eye surgery, they can actually, perform surgery on the eye and stuff like that. So this guy, and I had these holes in both my retinas. So like, or both eyes. Yeah, both retinas is the same thing. Anyways. So I had to get both eyes done. I think. Or was it only my left eye? I don't really recall. Fuck, you'd think you'd remember something like that. It was a very quick surgery. I had to go and meet with this guy, and then I don't think he performed it the same day, but I could be wrong. It was a long time ago. And so the last thing that this guy did, this doctor that I just went and saw, he checked my retina. He's like, can I dilate your pupils? He's like, you gonna be okay with that? You know, do you have anywhere you have to be for the next like hour or so? I'm like, well, I can just shop around Costco, I guess. You know, so he dilated my pupils, and then he shines a super bright light in your eye, and he's basically checking your retinas. And I'm like, and this is the part where I'm like, fuck, I don't want him to find anything. Like when he's looking at the back, you know, I'm stressing out. And I'm like, I even told him, I go, don't sigh or go, or any noise you make, I'm immediately going to evaluate as worst case scenario. And like, I just don't like that shit. I hate anything that's like, oh, it's bad news. And so he's like, yeah, don't worry. So like, he's, you know, I'm looking forward, you know, up to the right, over full right, down right, look straight down, over to the left. And he's checking one eye at a time, of course. And of course, on the second eye, when he's doing my left eye, that's when he's like, all right, look down to the right. And then, down to the left. Okay. And he's like, and we get up to the right part. And he's like, okay. And then look back down to the left from me. I'm like, we already did that. What's wrong? I'm like, what are you double checking? I did it. I cooperated. And then, and he's like, no, I was just looking at the scars from when you were doing the surgery. He goes, yeah, there's no new issues with your retinas. Like they look, you know, I could see the scars from when they did the laser eyes. Basically, it was like the laser eye surgery I got done was like they were cauterizing the hole. So I didn't have to actually have my eye cut open or anything like that. It's like it was like this green laser was like wop, 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 wop over the hole. And it was weird because it felt like somebody was pressing their thumb against my eye. So at first it was like, close your eye and you just rest your thumb barely on the outside, and it doesn't really feel like anything. It just feels like someone's touching it. But then as the surgery was going on, like, and my eye's open, so I know his thumb's not on the eye. It just felt like the pain in the back of my eye. I just felt like someone was pressing over the course of like the 4-minute surgery. It just felt like someone was pressing their thumb deeper and deeper. So it started to hurt more and more. It's just pressure. And they were like, I might feel like a bit of a pinch. No pinch pain whatsoever. It just felt like someone was shoving my eye into my head very slowly. Like they were not letting up. They just kept shoving it harder and harder. So it was cool to hear that my vision did not get any worse. I was, no new holes or anything like that, despite the little bit of stress. I always stress. You guys know that I always stress about things first and then it ends up being okay. So I went out to Costco. I picked up, 3 different pairs of glasses. So I got some, you know, went from one pair of glasses that I've had for almost 10 years in terms of the lenses. I've replaced the frames a few times, but, yeah, brand new glasses, 3 pairs. They said it might take up to 2 weeks. I got them I ordered them on Thursday and got the text messages that 2 pairs were ready Saturday morning. So literally less than 48 hours after I placed the order, they were in store, which is great. I got 3 new sets of transitions, 3 different styles of frames for different looks for my stupid face. And, to be honest with you, like for what I got with transitions on all lenses and everything like that, I only paid $600, which I paid like 500 and change, for one set of glasses in the past. So, I'm very, very happy with what I paid and what I got. And then the third pair was ready on Monday. So that was super cool. The fact that, like, you know, within 4 days of being there, all of my glasses were in, and they said it could have taken up to 2 weeks. It wasn't even a single week. So, that was super dope. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I also went to get a haircut. My buddy Kenny B, who is a DJ on Hot 89.9 here in Ottawa. He's got pretty trendy hairstyle, has for some time. So, I just reached out to him. I saw an Instagram video of him getting his haircut, and I was like, you know what? I think I'd like to maybe go to your place. My barber, I've got several barbers. I've told you guys over the course of the One Man podcast, I've got different kind of barbers in different cities, depending on where I'm at and how badly I need a haircut. But the guy that I use here in Ottawa, has taken ill. He was supposed to open back up and then got a really bad illness. So, he's recovering. Hope he does well. But we don't know when he's going to be open again. So I was like, all right, I'm going to check your dude out, man, and see about that. So I went to the hair salon there, and, it was funny. We had to wait outside and like sign, not necessarily waivers, but like a medical disclosure kind of thing about, have we been around this? We've been in that. Have we signed any of this? Blah, blah, blah. We go in, had to get shampooed. Everyone has to do that. So I guess I came in and they're like, yeah, take over here. We're going to wash your hair. They washed my hair for me. I was a little bummed out because I couldn't get my beard done. He shaved sort of the sides, whatever, but I wasn't able to get my beard done and styled because, you're not allowed to take your mask off. So I'm like, okay. I'm really happy with the haircut, but I may have reconsidered. So I'm holding this mask on, and at times, like, he has to like take the strap off one ear so we can do my sideburns and stuff. And I'm holding the mask. I'm holding the strap down to the bottom. So, Vince, the guy who did my hair, was super cool. We were joking, laughing. Love the guy. It is pricier than what I'm used to for paying for hair, but I think that's just the world I live in now. If I want a good cut from someone who's kind of up on trends, you got to pay for it. So, I liked it. Couldn't do my beard. I came home and sort of did that myself. Yeah. And I'm still kind of in this whole, like, I don't want to post pictures of myself. I'm disappointed with myself overall, the whole length of COVID, in terms of like all the really good things I could have done for myself that I didn't. So yeah, and I have something to talk about on next week's episode. I'm doing this one a couple of days late, so I'll tell you guys more about that. But yeah, so I just was like, okay, I feel good about how I look for the people who are going to see me. I also started doing some in-store demos and stuff, this week. So again, I had to make myself presentable. I had to get the COVID hair and all that shit under control. So I love the haircut. I'll, when I'm feeling a little bit better overall, I'll post some pictures. Naturally you guys are following me on social media, right? So, you'll see what's there. What else? So yeah, I told you guys I've been actually doing some installs. I got a gig doing vacuum cleaner installs at Best Buy. So, Monday and Tuesday, I'm doing it all week, but Monday and Tuesday, I'm doing these little half ones. I actually got very, very lucky. So I'm only doing one per day and it takes about an hour, but that's just the way the gig goes. I wasn't sure. Like, I've done these things before where they're like, hey, why don't you come on into the store and set up this, we'll do this install thing here. And it's like, great. And it's like, how long? Oh, this should take about 30 minutes each, but you get paid for the full hour. You're like, great. Then you go in and you can't get the store to find the stuff. You can't get the things to work. You're missing pieces. So something that was supposed to take 30 minutes ends up taking 2.5 hours. So I scheduled when they asked me, when I want to do them, I just scheduled one per day just in case there was any issues. Yeah, I did. It's funny. On Monday, I went out to the Gatineau location because that was the first one. So I was doing a Best Buy in Gatineau. And when I got there, they had already assembled it and installed it themselves. Huge win for me there. So I reached out to my team and they're like, yeah, well, lucky you get paid for it, even though they did it. So I was like, boom, took the pictures, filed the reports. Everything was gravy. Somebody's cooking something real good. Smells goddamn good in this house right now. So that was super awesome. And then the following day I went to Orleans and I actually had to do the work this time. But pretty straightforward. It was pretty straightforward. Easy enough gig. Again, it took more than this one was one where it's like, it'll take you about an hour. It took a little over an hour, but it wasn't hard work. And it's great that I'm back to taking some gigs for my marketing and demo companies. So I'm happy with that. Costco was next door on the Quebec side. So obviously I popped in there, picked up some good stuff. I actually picked up these really cool, I can't remember what the fucking name of them is, but I picked up these like little squares come in a bag. They were on sale. They're like gluten free, but they're like, oats and dark chocolate, whatever. Fucking delicious. They're small. Like they're like, picture something that's the size of a 2-bite brownie. That's like 110 calories each, but gluten free. Delicious. I've been having a couple of those every day. Is that really a talking point? I don't know. Fuck. I'm a sucker for a sale, man. So it's like, oh, delicious squares. Normally $10 on sale for $6. I'm like, fuck yeah. I'll take them. And they're delicious. I bought 2 bags. I'm like, just in case I like them, I won't have to come back to this one. If I don't, I'll bring back the unopened one. Fuck, whatever that is smells good. They say don't shop when you're hungry. Don't record the podcast when you're hungry. Am I going to reach over and open that bag? Start eating those things I'm talking about? No, plow through. Just get the work done. All right, I'm just going to read the last little bits I got. Let's do the gazebo shopping. I went gazebo shopping with my mom. My mom has been asking for some time now over the last few weeks. She's been looking at all these different, backyard gazebo things. The problem is that she wants something with shade on the back porch where she sits. And the problem is that she's got like an awning that comes off the back of the house over the door, and her back porch isn't very big. So she's been trying to find something that's like, it's going to solve the problem. And the biggest issue is like, well, you can't. Like, there's just nothing designed for that type of space. So you're either gonna have to build something custom, which is gonna cost. Like, she's like looking for something that's like perfect for her area, that's gonna be cheap. And I'm like, well, it's just, unfortunately, they just don't make. There's not a big demand for a fucking 3x6, awning, freestanding awning with a bug net and all that. Just doesn't, I'm sure you can find someone somewhere, but it's going to cost you a lot because it's custom, or they'd make a way less of them because that's not what people are after. So I finally convinced her to like, let's just go look and see what's out there. I was telling her like, make a list of what you want. You want something that's got a bug net. You want something that's got a, shade. You want something that's big enough to put, some chairs in, I'll write down all the different things that you want from this thing. And she's like, I go, if you want on the porch, write on the porch, but we're going to go out and look and we'll see if we can find something that ticks off as many boxes. Cause I was like, we can get you, an 8x8 or a 10x10 gazebo, freestanding, like, tent with bug net and all that shit. But we have to put it in the yard. She's like, well, I don't want to walk all the way down there. Anyways, I don't have to make you guys relive the torture that was this conversation, but eventually got her to the point where it was like, okay, let's go and see what's out there. And we'll see what ticks off the most boxes. So we went to, Canadian Tire and Rona and Home Depot and a bunch of these different places. We found something at Canadian Tire that she really liked, a good price, and picked it up and had it delivered. So, that should come on Wednesday, the day of this podcast. So that'll be fun. I'll set that up for her and she'll be happy. She'll get a chance to enjoy some backyard stuff, even though it's hot as fuck. But, so she got a 10x10 gazebo that has, what do you call it? Bug net? Yeah, mosquito net, whatever. What's fun and interesting, and this was something else we were looking at too, because my mom needs a shed in the backyard. Like, their current shed's, the door's busted off of it, so like you can't put anything of value in there. She's had people stealing stuff out of the backyard before. But we were looking, it's funny when you're looking at like these kind of like tented gazebo things, I find furniture sets frustrating, right? Even if it's lawn furniture, because like you go to the store and you look at the furniture set and you see a big price tag, $8.99. You're like, okay, that's a lot of money, but it's not horrible. And then you're like, oh, that's just the table, or you'll look and you're like, oh, it's just the table and the 4 chairs, but those end tables and that couch that come with it, that's all extra. It's just, it's not the end of the world. You figure it out, but it's just, look, you put everything together, show me what the price is for everything together, and then I'll read the other prices. Like, you want to break it down individually underneath, fine, but show me what the collection costs, and then we'll mark it down from there. It's just, it's irritating. Well, these gazebos are the same way. Like, obviously lawn furniture, exactly the same thing as like dining sets, where it's like, oh, it's just the 4 chairs. If you want the table, that's extra. And then you want the bench at the other end, whatever. I just said that. So the idea is you go for the tents and it's like, what's in the store? You're like, oh, that's a good price. Oh, this is like $600. It's, it's big and it's pricey, but like, that's pretty cool. It's got the net and it's got the drapes. And it's like, oh no, the mosquito net is extra. Oh yeah. And then of course the draperies, on top of it, or it's not on top of it, but the blackout curtains, those are more as well. You're like, fuck, I want to buy that thing. Can you put the price for that thing? That whole thing right there that you have on display, just put that price together. Well, we were looking at sheds as well, and it's kind of like the same idea with sheds. It's like you can find these sheds, but like a lot of sheds come without floors. And that's another thing where you're like, okay, like I want to buy something that I put it here, it has a floor. Like, I'm not looking to just rest shit on the grass or whatever. But I guess some people just do that, or they want to put their own flooring in. So it's one of those things when you're looking at it, you're like, does it come with a floor or does it not come with a floor? Does it come with a mosquito net or does it not? Does it come with the drapes or does it not come with the drapes? Like, what the fuck is this price representative? And a lot of them didn't even say on their write-ups, like on the big price tags with all the shit written about, it wouldn't say it. You have to like literally open these sheds and look to see if there's a floor or not. And then like type in the item number on the website so it would bring it up so you could read in detail like what actually comes with it. Is the floor, even though there's a floor, is that floor actually included? It's so hard buying things. First world problems. You guys you'll get over it. For all those people going like, yeah, do you have any real problems? No, clearly I don't. But yeah, so I spent some time doing that. But it's cool to see her getting excited for her yard stuff. And I am enjoying spending time with her. Like I said, I got to play The Last of Us with her. I got to spend some time doing a little bit of gazebo shopping. You know, she wants a little area to feel good about. You know, don't we all just want a little place to call our own? What she really wants, to be honest with you, is a place where people will come and visit. My mom is a wonderful person, but she's not the tidiest. And so with 2 dogs like dog hair, my mom's a bit of a clutter bug. She's a lot of a clutter bug. It's not to shit on her, but you know, she wants people to come visit. I find it a little depressing to visit my mom just because there's so much mess. It's not hoarder level, but it's like there's just so much shit that doesn't need to be there. It could either be put away or organized, or a lot of it could just, you don't need it, throw it out, get rid of it. But she's one of those people, what if I need, the hoarder mentality of well, what if I need it someday? It's like, you've never used it. So it's tough. How do you explain to somebody? Send me an email. If anyone knows the answer to this, contact the onemanpodcast.com. I would love to know. But how do you say to somebody you care about, look, the reason that a lot of people don't want to come over and visit for long is that people don't want, I know that when I'm feeling down or whatever, I don't want to be there. Not because I don't love my mom, but because her environment makes me more depressed and more uncomfortable. There's definitely something to minimalism where you're in clean spaces and you feel, so my mom's yard also has a lot of shit in it, but it is kind of nice to be outside. So, she's got this, and I think in her head, she's like, okay, well, I'm going to have a nice area for people to come over and visit and whatever. And I just need to get that mentality of you clean up the space and even more people will come, and it's easier to clean up outside, I think, than it is to clean up inside, truthfully. So, I'm happy for her. And I hope that I hope that she gets excited about her space and wants to take care of it. Right? Isn't that what we all want? So I'm happy for it, whatever. All right. Couple things, and then I'll fuck off and let you guys get back to your lives. I started playing, I finished a game that I've been playing called, I started playing it months and months ago, if not a year or 2 ago, called Typo Man. So a typo isn't a mistake, Typo Man. And it was this cool little side scroller. You can finish it in a couple hours, and it's a fun game where you're playing as this little sort of stick character who's made of letters, and you're solving puzzles with words. So there's platform jumping and things like that, but you'll have words coming up that are I'll give you an example. There's an area where there's gas, right? So the word gas is sitting on the area, on the ground, and gas is being emitted from the word gas. So you can run through the gas particularly quick, but there's parts where there's several words of gas. So the whole area is just filled with gas. And if you try to run through it, you die. But there's letters, before that. So I can't remember what the word is. I think the word open, and it'll open a gate. All right. That's a small example of Typo Man. You got a pile of letters. You can spell the word open. Open will open a gate for you. So you're writing words to solve problems, but then you'll steal the letter P. You grab the letter P and carry it with you through the gas. So what you do is you drop the letter P at the end of the word gas, which turns it into the word gasp. Right? So you put the word gasp there, and then all of a sudden he gets to take a big, deep breath, clear of that. So it's a safe word. It's oh, gasp, big breath. And then you pick up the letter P and you run to the next letter, gas, the next word, gas, and drop it down. Boom, you get to gasp for air. So that's how you solve the puzzle, is you're doing little things like that. There was the word part at one point sitting on the ground. You're oh, part. You start walking towards it, and then the back of the word picks itself up and flips over on you. And part backwards is trap. So it's a trap and it kills you. So you got to oh, fuck, okay, how do I do this? So I found that there was in the area, there was a letter S, and you bring the letter S with you. So when the thing flips over and turns into trap, well, the S right in front of it turns into strap, and then it straps the word down, and it no longer becomes a bear trap that kills you. Just a cool game like that. So it's basically you're playing with anagrams. You're reorganizing things to turn into words that help you, proceed through, solve little puzzles, whatever. So it's just really a smart word game with some platforming jump, whatever. So anyways, I managed to finish that. That was a fun one. And again, if you guys are like me, just looking for something small, you can finish in a few hours. Puzzle, use your brain game. That's the thing with Call of Duty and shit like that, shooting and sniping. It's always the same shit. I don't really have to use my brain. It's a reflex game. It does take skill, but it's not, I'm not solving anything. I'm not thinking outside the box and stuff. I like the stuff that challenges my brain. I'm either going to get a good story out of it, or I'm going to challenge my brain to come up with solutions and things. Those are the kinds of games that I like. Call of Duty, it's like, what's the story? Kill the terrorists. Okay. And what do? You just keep shooting everybody. You just shoot everybody you see on the other team. Okay. My KD ratio is really good. Oh, okay. That's kill death ratio. So you kill way more than you die, basically. But all that shit means nothing to me. So yeah. So I like the stuff like Typo Man. Started playing a game with Chad and Rich and my buddy Dylan called The Forest. The Forest is a game that's pretty much like a 3D version of Don't Starve that I really enjoyed. So The Forest is got a very weak plot in the sense that like you're on a plane, it crashes, and now you're just in the middle of the woods. And you find shit laying around. So it's not quite as unforgiving as Don't Starve, but it's more gruesome early. So the idea is like you crash, and now you're like, okay, so you have a little axe and you can use it to chop like saplings, which turn into sticks, or you chop down trees. You actually have to walk around the tree and chop it down, then it falls and then busts into logs when it falls. And then you can only collect so many logs, and you have access to like everything right away in terms of being able to build. And when you build, it drops a blueprint down so you can see what you're about to build and how much of it is complete. But the game, like there's cannibals in the forest. And they kind of doesn't matter. It's not like you go to an area where they are, like they come for you. So playing with Chad and Rich, like it was multiplayer, so it was fun, but we built a cabin real quick. And then we almost immediately started building like these big log walls around our sort of camp. We actually built our camp by the beach so that we didn't have to wall off like all four areas. We kind of, put our backs to the ocean and then walled off the other area. But like within a span of just a few days, like even in Don't Starve, it takes a few days before some things start to get really bad. The weather is not, you're not dying of heat and snow and things like that in the forest. But you do have like these cannibals come. So you start with like just these kind of like, feral cannibals. They look like, what? One of them looks like, the chick from the end of Sleepaway Camp. Looks almost like the same hair. They're all naked, right? So the women are running around with their fucking jungle titties flopping around, which is odd. Then you got one that's like Sinead O'Connor. She's like her head shaved, but still running around naked with her tits hanging out. It's very weird. It's very, very weird. But the level of cannibals gets like more intense. So some of them start to come and they've got like war paint on their face. And then you get these ones that come with like, clubs with skulls on the end of them. And then you get these ones with like full blown wooden and torch. Like they look like the snowflakes from a Victoria's Secret pageant, where it's like all these different sticks coming out, like the angel wings or whatever. So it's like that, but with like sticks and skulls and torches on them. Very, very elaborate. So you're like, oh, that's like a chief. And then when you think that like, and then they come with more and more of them. There's these ones that are like almost like Gollum, where they're like, very Gollum-esque, that'll like climb trees and jump from tree to tree. So we had to make sure that we chopped down the trees around our wall so they couldn't jump in. Like they'd climb the tree and then jump from one tree to the other and then jump into our camp. So we're like, holy fuck. But right when you think you've seen the most of it, like, oh shit, there's like, we just had a big amount of them. They go away after a while. So the walls are good in that regard. So if you just kind of weather the storm of them hanging out outside your camp, they'll go away after a while. But they, it's fucked up because they really do continue to get more aggressive. And then you start to get these like mutated ones that'll come, where it's like they've got like 8 legs like a spider, and it's just like an amorphous blob with arms and stuff. And then for some reason, tits coming out of the back of them. But it's just like this blob, these weird creatures that'll come, and then overgrown like hulking ones that'll come. One of them looks like, honestly, it looks like a ball bag with legs. That's all it does. It looks like a ball bag with legs, but they're vicious, and they screech. They make these horrible sounds. And instead of it being cartoony and Tim Burton-esque, like Don't Starve, where it's just kind of like a cartoon difficult game that's got like even though it's unforgiving, it's got a level of cuteness to it. This is like very real looking. So you've got all these mutants and things like that running and trying to. And when you kill them, your source of food is to chop up the bodies and then like cook the legs and arms and heads on the fire and then eat that. So as much as these people are cannibals, we're cannibals too. We're eating these fucking forest monkeys that are running around everywhere. It's interesting. It's certainly not as good as Don't Starve. And there's a lot of like, kind of bugs with the game, and it's not super clear what your objective is. But it's pretty gruesome. And then it's funny because like the gameplay and the story don't really back up that level of gruesomeness. So like Last of Us Part 2 is way more violent and but at least the story, like you get what's going on and why it's so brutal. Whereas this is like, I'm eating people every day. Like we were so desensitized. It's not like you kill them and then you just get arms and legs in your inventory. It's not like, hey, human meat, put it on the fire. We have to pick up the bodies. It was so funny. Rich and Chad were carrying these bodies around for the longest time, like these two naked women, just picking up the bodies running around. Like, you guys are like, and this was before we made our camp. So it was like, we're going to need food. So like we're running around this forest looking for a place to make camp. They've got these two naked dead women slumped over their shoulders, like they're carrying around their sex dolls. It was fucking hilarious to just watch them carrying around these fucking dead naked women. But yeah, so what happens is once you have these bodies, you put them down and you have to dismember them. So you got to hack at the limbs with the axe until the limb breaks off. And then you can either put it on a drying rack to eat it like feet jerky, or you throw it on the fire to cook it. Like, it's fucked up. So our camp now, at the point that we're at, we've got like 8 drying racks with like 6 limbs and heads hanging off them. Our camp looks way more horrifying than the little cannibal camps that you come across. Like, they've got like stick tents, like lean-to tents made out of sticks with like, they'll have like, one head on a stick. Ours is, we've got like clearly a large family's worth of just limbs hanging off. It's like 26 legs and 50 fucking arms and heads, and we're sitting there dressed like, in plaid and jeans. So it's like these fucking hipsters. And you can take the skin off these big creatures. These it's honestly like this island that we crashed on had like a power plant, because there's mutants and these horrible creatures like everywhere. And when you kill them, you can rip their skin off and make like armor out of it. So it's honestly just like this. It's hard to describe. It's fucked up. The game is fucked up, and it's, you got to put like meat effigies and stuff around the camp. So like you got to build your own, like you'll use the arms and legs and skulls to like spike, to like Transylvania's, Vlad the Impaler outside of your camp. Like you put heads and arms and everything like that. And if you light them on fire, you'll scare off, like that keeps the creatures away for like a day. It's horrifying. Basically, this game, it should be called How to Become a Cannibal. We're way worse than the creatures that are out there, but we build like towers and craft our own arrows and shit like that. And we're shooting these things from outside. The whole thing's fucked up. But I've been having fun playing it. Running from these hell cannibals. And the further along we survive, the harder and more fucked up creatures. Like, I have no idea, like there's more and more of these things that show up. We're only in day like 20 something, but the idea is the further along we've gone, we've started to see even more and more creatures. So who knows, there's a trophy for surviving 100 days. And I would imagine that, I don't know at what point they stop sending these things, but the level of like processing that this game does, there's only so many things that would be able to send. So at one point it'll just be like, well, we've reached the maximum number of them that we can send due to just, the ability to process that from a computing standpoint. I played games when I was young where it's like, you're building buildings or you're building units, and the game for some reason will let you keep building units, but you basically crash the game because it can't handle processing how many units you've made and giving them commands and moving them around and just keeping track of that from a computing standpoint. Right. So at some point these games have learned like, well, we max out at this. So it's like, okay, well, at what point have they not designed any new creatures? And at what point, will they max out the ones? Cause that's what games do now is they design it so that you can't crash the game. You've only got this many enemies, which is why when you see a new game with like, really lush backgrounds and a bunch of enemies that you're fighting, it's like, you really got to realize that that's where we're going with games and why, higher processors and more expensive machines is because the more processing power it has, the more like, the more it can do effectively. Like when you see really like high detailed grass and trees and textures on walls, like that all takes processing power. So the nicer you make something look, you got to take from something else. And so these things like The Last of Us 2 that have like, and Red Dead Redemption 2 and stuff that have beautiful landscapes, they design engines for them so that like, I'm sure you've seen a game where like, as you're driving, like more cars will pop into the distance. Like if you're somebody who doesn't know much about video games and you see these big open worlds, like just know that like when you look way off into the distance, even though sometimes those are areas where you can go to, there's nothing there yet. Like there's nothing rocking around and whatnot, because that's all stuff that the game would have to process. They create these sort of like little circumference, radiuses where within a certain distance of the player, things will generate and look. So the world looks alive. And of course, as processing power has gotten better, they can do more with stuff like that. So, the radiuses have gotten bigger and the engines have gotten bigger. So all I'm saying is that this game, The Forest, I can't see them adding any more enemies. I just see them adding different shit. So these creepy mutated things, I would definitely say Google the game, The Forest, and see if you can find some short videos on YouTube or at least watch a trailer. It's interesting. I like the building aspect. It's basically like a more refined version of Minecraft, except you're not putting blocks on each other and the things that you're seeing are way more like horrifying and gruesome. But it's the building part where we're building walls and ramparts and gazebos and log cabins and rafts and things like that. It's just the building part's fun and there's lots to explore. Unlike Don't Starve, this game, The Forest, does not have randomly generated maps every time. The map is always the same. The only difference is where the game starts you. So once you know the map, you know the map. So there's not a whole lot of replayability, but we haven't finished it yet. So we'll see what happens. And that's all I got to tell you, guys. Come on, send me an email, contact@onemanpodcast.com. Just tell me about anything you want. I'm going to see Red. I'll have one more episode for you guys. I will be leaving for her place next week, but I do have, I'm going on Thursday, so I won't, I'll still have another episode for you before I leave. So, anything that you want to ask me or her, maybe hold my feet to the fire, write her something that we can read where she'll have to put me on the spot or whatever it is, anything you guys want at all, I'm open to it. Contact@onemanpodcast.com. She'll do, an episode with me while I'm there. So that'll be fun. So next week's episode, 166, I believe, will be just me, but then, the one after that will be with Red. Or send me an email and let me know if you want me to have it like a day or two late. In which case, maybe I'll just wait till I get there and her and I will do, 2 episodes together or something. But either way, she will be co-hosting one of the episodes with me. Looking forward to that. I've also got somebody who's a new music artist who's put out their first single. I played her stuff on an episode a while back. She's also in the London area, so I'm going to try to plan an interview with her one of the days. So I'm looking forward to that. That's the podcast. Contact@onemanpodcast.com. Enjoy the music, guys. I will talk to you next week.